Hi everyone, this is my how to sing in mixed voice video. I know you guys have been requesting it for a really long time now. Sorry it's taken so long, but here it is. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is define what mixed voice is, or at least come to a similar understanding for what sounds we're talking about. The reason for that is because everybody and their cousin has a different definition for mixed voice. There's tons of stuff floating around the internet, and I'm sure that you guys that are commenting, like, how do I sing in my mixed voice? Like, you don't all have the same conception of what it is. So personally, for me, I don't think it's a very useful term. I don't like it very much. And I really only use it when other people use it. So that's why I'm using it now. So just to make things super clear, I'm going to actually use sound examples, and those are going to serve as my definition of mixed voice, instead of, I don't know, saying it's a split of resonance or something like that. All right, so the first person that I'm going to be using for an example is Brendan Urie. I'm going to be using him because he has a lot of different facility with his voice and can do a lot of different versions of mixed voice. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so right there, that sort of sound, that's part of what I think is mixed voice. So, and you can hear how distinct it is from the notes before it as well. There's sort of like a change that happens in his voice. Whoa, I don't know what he's doing. Oh, right? It's like, oh, different voice from from that thing, right? Okay. That would be like the really high mixed voice or the head mix. So, whoa! That's another part of mixed voice. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so that sound. Very different, obviously, from the earlier ones. It doesn't have that sort of like change. It sounds very similar to his chest voice, but I will also call this sound mixed voice. It's like probably like a G or something. Hey, hey. So call that also mixed voice. So I think really it's mixed voice. All of that's mixed voice. But where most people would be like, oh, that's really mixed voice, would probably be on the E vowel. Mona Lisa, right there, rather than the whoa. But I think the O is also mixed voice. So that whole thing, I call all that mixed voice. Ooh, lace in your dress tangles my neck. How do I live the death of a bachelor? From the how do I live? That's all mixed voice. The death of a bachelor. And that wraps up Brendan Urie mixed voice examples. So this is in part what I am talking about. All right. The next singer is going to be Bruno Mars. Sings high as fuck. So we've got a live performance from him in this sort of more acoustic setting of Grenade. So I think this really showcases that mixed voice sound as well.
Listen, babe, I would go through all this pain, yeah. Take a bullet straight through my brain. Yes, I would die for you, baby, but you won't do the same.
It's not fair to be that good. Like, it's just not fair. Like, what the fuck? Okay, so all that's mixed voice, right? The high parts, the mixed voice, obviously. But even the more lower. mixed voice 2. All right. I only got one song because Bruno's just that good. Just slaying it. All right, and the next person I'm going to be using to illustrate some mixed voice examples is Jeremy Jordan. He's my favorite singer. Probably my favorite singer. All right, here we go.
Sing I hear, I just keep rolling along.
So the I and the long, the long, all that's mixed voice per my definition. All right. Too good. Okay, now that's an example of just like in the Brendan Urie one where you can hear something sort of shifting and changing in the voice. And it's not sounding as consistent with the lower bits. It's like, oh, what's that? That's something new, right? But also doesn't sound, it's not like going to falsetto. It's not that inconsistent. It's just that you can hear there's something else going on there now. To describe sounds like this, I would actually like to use the word mixed voice because it does seem to sort of be like a really in-between sound. His wife is like, yeah, kill it. Oh my god. Okay. So obviously, it's not restricted to vowel, right? Because Jeremy just did it on 2 of the same notes, on an open vowel and then a closed vowel. Right? He did ah, and then he did that. He did like eh. It's like eh. Ever a surprise? You're so perfect. Is it hot in here? It's getting hot in here. Okay, obviously Jeremy Jordan makes me feel things. Very powerful things. Okay, now the last person I'm going to use as an example is myself.
That sounds familiar. Is that the one that's like, baby, when they look up at the sky?
Okay, so there I moved through many different versions of mixed voice. I did what I showed Brendan Urie doing in the beginning, and in the 2 separate clips where he goes super high. The whoa! That's kind of like what the at the sky, the at part is. And then the lower part is more of the fuller stuff. And I think this is like around a C, the notes. Let's go back.
Is that the one that's like, baby, when they look up
baby! This is kind of like the sounds that we heard Jeremy Jordan making around the B, C area as well. So that's that sort of mixed voice.
God of glory, yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's sort of the knockoff version of that at the sky, but also mixed voice. All right, last clip of me.
My life. Ooh, oh, hey, little rich girl, I know I do.
Okay. The ooh, oh. Good example. But all the rest as well. Hey, little rich girl, I know it. Mix all that. I know it. Do. Maybe not the sloppy run note, but for the most part, all that's sort of mix. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that for most people, mixed voice isn't something that you find, it's more something that you create. And I want to stress this because a lot of people are like, man, I can't find my mixed voice. Like, where the fuck is it? Like, they're searching for it. Like, it's something that they can do already, but they just can't figure it out. But this has not been my experience with learning to sing higher notes and learning to sing with mixed voice. It's something that I had to literally create. It was a new thing that my body learned to do. It wasn't something that I discovered, that was always there. So I just really want to clarify that. Now, that being said, to achieve similar things to the sounds that I just displayed, you really should be working with your chest voice. Mixed voice is shaped out of that, not your falsetto. I know that this is contrary to some things that you might have heard online already, but in my experience, this is how it's worked. The chest voice is really what you use to grow your voice, and then you refine from there. You don't expect falsetto to be the thing that's going to strengthen your voice and enable you to sing with a lot of power up high, because it really isn't. I think falsetto is important. And it's important to work with. And I don't think that you should alienate falsetto and be like, oh, falsetto will never do anything for your voice, because I don't think that's true either. I think there's a lot of benefits to singing lighter and singing with falsetto and learning to blend between different sounds. But the concept of bridging and sort of like going to falsetto as you go higher, I don't think that's a good concept. That really didn't help me learn to sing in mixed voice. So some techniques for you to find and develop mixed voice. One would be to add crying or whining to the notes as you go up in pitch. So you can try to sound like you're really sad, like this. You could go like, and then you can just try bridging your voice that way, and see if you can take it upward. And you don't need to don't start in your falsetto. No, hey, my falsetto, I'm crying. Again, it comes from the chest voice, right? So, oh my God, Mom, right? Or maybe even lower. Mom, Mom. So, let's say you're trying to, I don't know, a slide, something really easy, right? And you're going, if you're finding that difficult, and then you want to go into your upper voice, go into your mixed voice, sorry. Add that cry, but add it lower. So, I'm already in this spot for this voice, all the way down here. I already started it down here. Sort of in tandem with whining or crying into the sound is also nasty, gross, ugly, like bright sounds. So stuff like so stuff like that. It's like very like wow, like I'm a baby crying, like or like an ambulance. I don't know what ambulance sounds like that, but also there's the infamous nay 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 exercise that I horribly demonstrated in my transformation video. But it's like the nay 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 nay. So really whiny sounds that might help you. Feeling like you're holding the air back as you go upward. So instead of it all rushing out, so right? So instead of it all rushing out, you're gonna try to restrain the sound, right? And hold it back a little bit. Sort of doing like my stomach hurts, like a ooh, my stomach, ooh, that kind of might help you get into the same similar spot. Okay. Now, this one is only going to work for some people, but it has worked for me and for other people in the past. It just depends. So, if you have a super top end to your voice, like you got some ultra high head voice notes, and you don't really have a stable mix yet, but you can do that kind of stuff, then this might help you to find your mixed voice. So, The first thing you do is you just do a slide in your voice. You go from low to high. Ooh. So if your voice will go to anything like that, then this might work for you. Okay. And it's going to feel distinct from falsetto. So you're going to go through ooh, chest voice, ooh, or you might just flip, ooh, right? And you're going to keep going up. Ooh. You hear that? It's like my voice is like going to a completely different thing, right? It's almost like chest, falsetto, falsetto, head voice. It's almost like breaking to another thing or flipping to another thing. So if your voice does anything like that, that sound that it's sort of going to is what you want to bring lower. So if you can kind of pop into that sound, and then you have it, you want to bring that lower, drag it lower, keep the same action that's happening on the vocal cord at the vocal cord level. So something's gonna shift. You're gonna feel it in your throat. I can feel it being like a lot of air versus not a lot of air, and I can feel the muscular tension as my cords adduct more. So you hear how it's not falsetto now? How it's going into my mixed voice? It's all the same. That's all going to connect when you develop your voice in your mix. So if you have super highs, if you have super highs like that at all, you can try just dragging it down. And maybe you can try with a whimper. Anything like that. If none of that works, which it really didn't work for me at first, what you should do is practice from a position of singing loudly in your chest voice. Now, this needs to be comfortable. You shouldn't just be yelling and straining a lot. You should practice where you already have a good amount of coordination in your voice. So let's say maybe it's just ah. You're like, okay, I'm comfortable starting there. Okay. Ah is a loud, clear sound. It's a lot clearer than other things I could do, right? Like or right? You can hear the difference, obviously. The vowel's changing. I'm smiling. There's clarity to the note. So you start with that sound and you see, okay, well, let me just work on stretching this. That is going to turn into your mixed voice eventually. I'm lazy as fuck right now and not really wanting to belt, so yeah. But it's gonna all go the same direction. You don't want to have a muffled sound. You don't want to be adding air to the voice, like it's not gonna help you. You want clarity and strength to your voice. So all of these things you can practice lower down where they're comfortable now, and you can start, depending on how your voice is. Maybe let's say middle C is where you really start fucking up. Maybe F4 is where you start fucking up for dudes, and for girls, a sharp 4, C5 area, maybe E, maybe D5. What you want to do to be successful with learning to sing, just in general, not even with mixed voice, is you need to establish an awareness of what's happening in your body, what's happening with your voice, what's going on. Otherwise, you're going to be like, man, like, I don't know what I'm doing. You're not going to know how to control your voice. So you need to know how to control it, establish this connection between, oh, I can feel that. I can feel the difference between ah and ah. If you can't feel it and you don't know, then how are you going to trigger it to happen? You know what I mean? So you need to start paying attention to stuff like that. A lot of people, when they're first starting out, myself included, like, just did not even have like a connection to like my voice. Like, I couldn't even control it. So establishing that and just paying attention and learning like what different things feel like is a good first step. And when you can identify how to do a sound, let's say it's the whine one, and you could practice it low, like Oh, mom, my stomach hurts. And then you can apply it to a simple scale, or you can apply it to a song, you know. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Right? Or, for example. All right, well, I hope that was helpful for you guys. This was interesting to make. Let me know what you think. If there's stuff that you would like me to clarify on more in future videos, and I'll someday get around to doing that. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video. Oh my God! So long.